Welcome to another edition of Advisory in Real Life. And I have with me a real life accountant. Yay! They're the best. The ones that play accountants on TV aren't as much fun to work with. So this is Leslie Quesada. She's a member of the Client Accounting and Advisory Services team, which I love that you have the two A's between the C and the S. And she's a supervisor at Hancock Askew, a firm that's in a lot of locations. I'm going to let her tell you more about that and what she does in that firm. So Leslie, you want to tell us more about you? I'm not going to just read your slide there. So tell us about your firm and where you are and what you're doing inside that firm.
So Hancock Askew and Company has actually been around over 100 years now. Their main infrastructure and everything originated out of Georgia. And since 2016, they've expanded in their Southeast regional area, and they started opening up their offices in Florida. I was part of the initial team that started the Miami office, started as a tax intern, and over the last couple of years transitioned into the CAS side.
Fantastic. So how big is the firm, Leslie?
So the firm is actually 6 locations now, and
Wow,
we're a little bit over 200, almost 300 employees.
it's incredible. A lot bigger than the
Yeah.
firm I'm in. And that's a great coverage of the Southeast. I'm sure you're doing great work across many locations. So you have QBO certifications and you have Fathom. Yay, you know how much I love Fathom. And your latest addition to your stack of certifications is the Level 5 Advisory Certification, which you just got and about a week or two ago. And it's such an honor to have worked with you. So I'm going to talk about who I am really quickly. That's me. I'm the Basset person. It's why there are a bunch of Basset Hounds in here. I raised them. They're part of my brand. It's who I believe I am when I'm my real me. It's the Basset Hound. So I work with wineries in the Napa Valley through an amazing CPA firm, BD Co. CPA, Broke Markle Davis and Company, based in downtown Napa. I'm also a keynote speaker, presenter, and author, and that's via my brand, Even a Nerd Can Be Heard. Evenanerd.com is the website. And my latest thing, my favorite thing, which I get to do with people like Leslie, is advisory training and coaching via my new site I launched during COVID at theimpactfuladvisor.com. And that training is built on the tools that I use myself with winery clients. It's tools that I discovered from a company called Mentor Plus, and I acquired the rights to the online training during COVID. And so I've been working with teams and coaching individuals and conducting a bunch of fun classes and working with great people since COVID. So it's one of the blessings that came out of the period of self-reflection and quiet time in some cases. I reached out and acquired those rights, and Edie Osborne is the creator of those materials. So Leslie, tell us about how you got to be an accountant and how you got to be doing what you're doing these days.
Well, I always had the passion for accounting. I wasn't sure which way I wanted to go. I think when I first started out in the industry, it was just like tax, audit, and
That's
now,
right.
and then of course there was always bookkeeping. And now I have the opportunity to be a part of CAS, which is just a whole other direction where bookkeeping is headed to, which is basically advisory.
So what does CAS mean to you? And again, there's CAS, Client Accounting Service, which is a brand or an acronym that we've been hearing. The AICPA talks about it. There are conferences for that. There are a lot of firms of all sizes that are adding what they call CAS practices. And some firms have what you have, which is CAAS practice. But what does client accounting and advisory mean to you? What's different about that from, let's say, what we used to call write up or some firms call bookkeeping?
Yeah. So through my level 5 experience, I learned that in the level 1 is all the technical stuff. So moving to advisory, you're able to provide the clients something that they may not think that they need or don't know yet that they need until you start explaining to them all the issues that they just don't have the time to think of. So a lot of firms right now are just doing the client accounting services, which is just providing that technical support. We offer the advisory part, which is taking you through level 5, where basically the technical part is all resolved. Now we get to focus on analyzing your business operations. What are your goals? What is your end in mind? So it's definitely something that I know a lot of firms are not participating in, but I'm glad that our firm is leaning towards both accounting and advisory.
Yeah, it's pretty special that your firm's made the commitment and it allowed multiple people to get into the training and realize the value of that extension of services. So I think the CAS practice is really developing and evolving. I think many firms launched it initially because it was a requirement, of course, for the transactional management, right? I mean, our clients need that. It's one of the things that my firm, which is the firm that I'm in, it's not a firm that I own, it's a firm that I'm a member of. We don't do client accounting service. We don't offer that service ourselves. And so the calls we get all often are looking for what people call bookkeeping help or whatever. And again, our clients don't know what they want, right? They don't know what to call it. They don't know if it's CAS or CAAS or
Yeah.
write up or bookkeeping or accounting. They don't know what term to use for those services. So part of what we have to do, I think, is define, what does this mean? When I say I'm going to do client accounting services, is that an audit? I mean, what is it? So I think it is really getting to the core transactional flow of that business, and then hopefully adding additional insights on top of that. And I think that's where the profession is trying to move. And I don't know that other firms have made the commitment to try to figure out how to do that. We're still very trained in how to do the transactional stuff, right? I mean, and the people that we bring on board typically have bookkeeper knowledge or transactional, debit and credit knowledge, right, Leslie? So,
Yeah.
how hard is it to make that transition? What do you think?
So it is difficult because you'll hear our clients say, "Oh, I already have a bookkeeper." But then
Yeah.
at the end of the year, when it's time to do the tax prep, they're realizing all these adjustments and all these other technical things that just weren't done in the regular bookkeeping level. So I think this is the shift where it's important for us as accountants to let our clients know, like, it's not just bookkeeping and data entry. There's a lot more analysis and value that needs to be provided with all the data that we have in doing your accounting services.
And what about the whole technology thing? I mean, traditional bookkeepers, it wasn't about technology, was it? How does
Yeah.
that impact the work that you're doing?
I feel like a lot of firms that were offering bookkeeping services now, with all the AI softwares that are doing that part of it, it's either you're on board and you shift into advisory, or you're just not in the game anymore. And I think it's very important for firms to stay in the game. Let the AI softwares do that data prep work, and let your accountants be that trusted business advisor and provide more value. So it's very important to adapt with the changes and use these AI softwares to our advantage.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible what we can do, the stuff that we can automate. And again, I don't think all the bookkeepers out there, or all the accountants, even all the CPAs, or whatever label you put on yourself, if you're a numbers person, you're an accountant in my book. I don't care what degree you have or certification. You're accountant stuff, and you're hopefully holding your clients accountable. That means you're an accountant. And so, I think there's so many people that aren't informed about the technology that's available to eliminate a lot of the drudgery work that we do, and also to speed up the process of getting information in the hands of our clients. We're not taking advantage of that, and we're not getting out there and finding out what else is possible so that we can free up capacity to deliver advisory. So my next question for you, Leslie, is, what does advisory mean to you? What is it? What does it look like? This my little puppy friend here is trying to sniff it out and can't exactly figure out what it is. And a lot of
But
people have that question.
yeah, they do. They sure do. And it's funny because there's so many levels of advisory, right? There's risk advisory, there is business services advisory. So when I'm thinking of advisory, I'm thinking of insight, providing additional insight, not just keeping you compliant and ready for your tax prep. I want to actually translate all these numbers and all this data into valuable information for you to make decisions on. I think a lot of clients, just like us in in the accounting industry, we're always working to just turn off those fires, fill out those orders, and get them out. So
Yeah.
it's important to remind clients and ourselves the value of advisory, giving us the opportunity to be proactive and not reactive after the fact.
And how do we educate clients who may have seen us, Leslie, in that traditional, you're behind the scenes doing whatever it is that you do in my accounting software that I never look at, by the way, as a client. How do I get them to see me in a different light, to see you, to see us in a different light? What do we do? Did you get tools that'll help you do that? How do you start shifting the perceived value of what it is you're doing?
So it was very important for me to make sure that we had the accounting part
You got to
structured
start there.
before we are able to offer the advisory, because it does provide clients a level of security and trust, knowing that at least my financials are in order, everything is structured correctly, so I can trust my bookkeeper to also be my business advisor.
That's right. It
And
has to
also,
start there.
yeah, and asking questions. So again, a lot of times they're just working, they're trying to get things out, and they might lose sight of why they're even doing this, what is their goal, what are they striving for, and advisory services really bring that back into the picture.
That's great. Very well put. Um, very nicely explained. So how does it benefit our clients when we do this thing called advisory? And do they need it? Do you think they need what we're delivering, what we're talking
Oh,
about
they
here?
need it. They need it. I think one of the best ways that we've put it out is what I mentioned now of being proactive. When you're doing
Yeah.
advisory service on a monthly, even quarterly or semi-annual, it lets you be proactive and plan instead of looking back at the results. So a lot of our clients that reassure us that they don't need bookkeeping or level 5 services, we stress out to them the payroll costs, the tax savings that they could have had if they would have been proactive and looked at the financials, not just for compliance, but for actual insight.
Again, I think it comes down to a lack of understanding of what's possible because as a
Yeah.
profession of numbers people, we've trained our clients to only use us once a year or maybe once a month, or have us do stuff that's in the back end that's not affecting the way that we make decisions and driving the business results that we care about. So a bunch of what we need to do is re-educate them. And I think that's one of the things that we try to deliver in the toolkit is ways to start asking different questions from that first client meeting. And once we do, what do you think happens with that? Remember, share some tools that you might use to help a client see you in a different light.
So a lot of questions would probably come about in the first meeting. A lot of things that they probably weren't thinking of that we ourselves also won't have the answers, but we could at least facilitate and get these things on their minds to start planning for.
Yeah, and there are tools in all of the materials. And one of the things that I was really most excited by when I first found these tools back in the, 2004, was some questions that I could ask clients that I never thought to ask. Things like, why are you doing this, as you said, but also, where do you go to see if your business is on track? And are you getting the information out of your financial statements that helps you manage your business? Because I guarantee you the answer to that question is no. I'm managing my business from something else like the bank account balance or my check register or my point of sale system in my industry or my production software or the inventory balance that I have or from Square or Stripe or one of those payment systems. And if they're managing from that, where's the opportunity, Leslie? Where's the opportunity for us to help them?
Yeah, so that reminds me also of like just the scope grid and getting all these questions of where they're
Yeah,
headed to and not just turning off fires and everything.
yeah,
So in the initial meeting, all of that will come about and we
yeah,
could start helping them thinking of what are they doing, what is their end in mind, how are they really keeping score of all this stuff. Like if maybe
yeah,
they're a rental company, they probably think they're doing good because they have all the rental units rented out, but they're not
yeah.
taking into account their expenses and other items that could impact the bottom line. So it's very important to find out how they're keeping score and helping them realize that's not enough.
Leslie, do you think your clients are any of them looking at the statement of cash flows? And why do you think that's an important statement?
I think a lot of our clients are just learning about the statement of cash flows. They really didn't realize the importance of it because all they're used to is balance sheet and P&L.
Yeah, or just the P and
Yeah.
L in most cases. Yeah,
You'll always hear those clients like, "Where is my money? I did so good. I had all the sales." And there's a
yeah,
lot of things on the statement of cash flows that, again, it's just about understanding where they could see that, hey, that money is going into loans or distributions. So it's a statement very valuable that our clients are just learning how insightful it is.
yeah. And if you go to QuickBooks Online and try to find that report, it's not one of the standard reports. You have to search for it. It's an indicator of how poorly used that financial statement is. And to me, it's one of the critical questions we get, just like you said, Leslie.
Yeah.
If I made a profit, where's my cash?
Yeah.
And the obvious place to go was to just look at that. If we just started sharing that with every client that we had, we would provide a far deeper level of service than what we're even doing with the standard financials, which by the way, they don't understand and aren't looking at. They're
Correct.
typically doing them because someone else needs them from them and they're just passing it on without reviewing it.
That's
And that's
right.
depressing, isn't it, Leslie, for us? We're doing all this work. We made sure everything matched and balanced. We put the commas in the right place, the double underlines where it goes, the dollar signs to the left of the margin, all that stuff. And they're not
Yeah.
even looking at it.
Yeah.
How does that feel?
I know when there's so much useful information there, right? That they could, use and make decisions with. Yeah, it's very, very frustrating, but it does come down to a basic understanding. And I think it's very important for us accountants to share this education with our clients.
So what tools did you get to help educate those clients? Did we get anything in the materials?
So there's a lot of tools through the level five. I think the initial one to start with is the scope grid that I mentioned. So
Yeah,
we could identify the issues that they're having now. What's keeping them up at night? What are the bottlenecks? And just helping them develop a plan so we could
yeah.
follow it through and tackle those items.
So there are also things like slide decks for doing marketing and training and education and presentations. There's one on financial fluency, which is a really cool way to explain how the financial statements fit together, how
Oh, I see that.
timing is overlaid on transactions that flow through the business, the sort of an introductory explanation of accrual versus cash and why the numbers are so different depending on what accounting method you're applying and things like that. So this toolkit that you have access to gave you all kinds of insights about how to function with the client across from you, not just limited to a spreadsheet you can build or a conversation you can have, but how to actually educate them, an owner, and teams, and how to bring them together, and how to build models that bring numbers to life instead of just being flat, static, black and white, boring doohickeys on a piece of paper. So hopefully some of those things are tools that you're going to be able to leverage. So sitting through the training, and again, Leslie sat through a 12-month program that we crafted especially for her firm. I wanted it to be spread out so we didn't interfere with too much of the workload. But we went through the full module set in a 12-month period, and we did it, I think it was every other week, pretty much, because there are 24 sections of stuff to go through. And what that is you're doing it online, you're reading the materials, you're downloading the documents, and then I'm coming on and meeting with you and the members of your firm. And I'm giving you insights from my own consulting perspective. I'm adding interpretations I've applied over the last 20 years to how I take what's in there and put it in my own voice and then come up with different ways to use it. And so we've been together we're old buddies after a year of doing that. But all the time, over and over again, we say a couple of things: mindset, tool set, and skill set. What does that mean to you? And which one of those is the hardest to change?
Mindset. I think
Mindset.
I think we always had the skill set, the resources. It's a mindset and the shift in being used to not just not just the clients, but us accountants as well. Just getting used
Yeah.
to the mindset of no longer just doing data entry compliance work, but actually living our part to be our trusted business advisor, somebody that they could come to us and trust on helping them make these decisions.
So how do you find capacity to do more than traditional transactional work? How does that happen? That's one of the things firms are struggling with. We want to shift, but I got too much stuff piled up on my desk. How do you do that?
So in our firm, we've worked on establishing our ideal client, our client that will develop our tech stack, our client that would require our level five services and advisory. So these are all things that we're trying to work towards so that our clients, so that we're able to work more on advisory services. And again, like you
So
mentioned, it comes
yeah,
down to education. So once they realize how much they need it, the plan is that we could offer that service to those clients.
I had a thought, then I just lost it. One of the things that we do with one of the goals that we have is to be able to service a smaller number of clients in a deeper way. And that's the transition that you make, right? From going to hundreds of clients to going to a smaller subset, whatever that right size is,
Yeah,
but being able to really know what they're doing and be able to have a bigger impact.
yeah,
And one of the things about this training is the mindset, the conceptual framework that you bring to the work is one of the big elements of what I discovered I needed to have in order to take technology. And I thought I could solve this problem with the right technology, with just a tool, an automated tool. I could become a better accountant. What I realized is I needed to know what to say when I had the tool in front of me. Like I use Fathom dashboards. I use all these tools. There's SIF, there's there's all kinds of reporting engines. There's live flow, there's live plan, there's this, that, and that, all designed to take information and put it in a format that is more easily understood by a client. But if I display this stuff that brings up new questions, I need to know what to do with that, right? And that's the scary thing. I'm not going to show a dashboard if I can't explain every single ratio and tell you what to do to improve that ratio. And that's what hopefully you took from this class. I can show this ratio, understand what it is, and now I can sit down with that owner, that team, and show them what to do to make that better next time. And that's to me where the fun is, especially when I can get in front of teams. And
That's right, because
right.
it's not just, it's easy to just set up the KPIs and be like, hey, this is it, this is a red flag and not. But you definitely have to be familiar with it and know those activity input measures, what is linked with those KPIs. So it's definitely very, very important.
Yeah, and I think that, I'd like to hear from you, but what do you think the biggest concept, what was your favorite concept that you walked away with, or give me whatever, what things really stood out and changed the way you approach what you do every day?
Something that stood out to me was who sits at the table. So a lot of business owners, they know what they're doing. They started the business, it's their skill. But as their business keeps growing, which is the plan, they'll hold on to that tribal knowledge. And then, more people start coming on board, and you think it's either a people problem or a process problem. So I think that really stood out with me is developing the right processes and procedures that a business needs so that the business is not relying on those people, it's relying on its processes. And I think that's something very important that I think it's, again, on us to educate our clients how important that is. But definitely having business owners be open and realizing that they need their salespeople, they need their marketing people sitting at those tables, helping them make those decisions. That
And as you
definitely stood
said,
out.
Leslie, yeah, and that question, who has a seat at the table, is, I think, a very insightful one to focus on, because when you ask an owner that, if no one has a seat at the table and they're not sharing information, then how in the world are they going to get anything accomplished? Unless that owner can somehow magically do a mind meld and get people to understand what they're trying to achieve, it's virtually impossible. So one of the things that I think is hardest for many accountants to accept is that you can't really impact some of these financial outcomes you're trying to achieve without engaging some of the people who aren't the owner. But we have to go a couple of levels deeper, because that's where the activities are happening that drive that lever, that make that ratio either better or worse. And so one of the things that we work on is, how do I facilitate teams? Because I got to bring them in the room to find out what's really going on. And so hopefully some of that was revolutionary to me the first time I saw a consensus workshop, which is facilitated conversations that we just lead. It was mind-blowing for me, and I've used those tools in all walks of my life. I haven't used them yet with my kids, trying to figure out who's going to do what, but that's coming. But I mean, they're the kinds of tools that are not just, job changing, but I use them in volunteer agencies and things. We're trying to come up with a topic for a TEDx event that I was part of. We use that to filter down to what we wanted to do for our theme and things like that. So these are life skills that you're learning as well, in addition to just work skills. And I think they can serve you in many ways. But I think that one of the scariest parts is this facilitation concept. What? I'm an accountant. I didn't sign up to be in front of groups. But the cool thing about being a facilitator is the focus isn't on you. The focus is on you being the structure for the event, but the content comes from the participants. And so your job is really to just lead people to feel comfortable in sharing what they know. So so there are lots of things like that are part of what we believe are important. If you're going to work with the company, you're going to work on financial concepts, you're going to work on improving the business, then you need to think about not just what the owner is doing and not just what the leadership is doing, but what's happening when we take it to the front line. Mm-hmm. And for me, that's the most fun part of what I do in advisory work, is working with retail tasting room folks, showing them models that we built based on the profit equation planner, which is a tool I know you've seen, Leslie, that just has a what if scenario where I can show them what happens if they change different aspects of the way they connect with the customer who's visiting their winery.
And you see that all helps.
Break it down, they get so excited.
Yeah.
And that's where, those are the people that we're talking about, employee engagement and lack thereof in today's market. When somebody can see that their work matters on what the company's trying to do, they become engaged. And then we empower them by giving them control over those metrics. and then things change in a big way. And I think it's one of the things that, Leslie, from your own experience in being inside a firm, the way that you're measured, the metrics that apply to the work that you do, if you can see how you can control and impact them, you're far more connected to that than if you're just measured and then punished for hitting them or not, right?
Yeah. And again, it's all linked with being proactive. Like that profit equation tool, it helps
Right.
you be proactive. So you could try to
Yeah.
maneuver certain scenarios versus after the fact. And yeah,
Yeah, and I think that's the fun part. I mean, that's why. So I was a partner in a CPA firm. I made partner in tax, and I left the next day because I was just tired of, first of all, the psychological burden of knowing I couldn't help a client pay their tax bill, knowing they owed money because I would hand them their tax return, and then not being able to figure out what to do to help them improve the cash flow, or even having a clue about what was really going on other than what the tax return looked like. And knowing that my Schedule M, which is, the tax reconciliation form, balanced, that was my only satisfaction that I'd done the job right. And that was after 14,000 review notes as a tax preparer. I wasn't
that's
very
right.
good at it. So it's tough, but these tools, I think, give you the roadmap. Would you agree, Leslie, that we call it a
Definitely.
GPS for
Definitely.
working with the client?
It definitely opens the door towards advisory. And really, I mean, in the 8 years now that I've been doing this, it really does offer a rewarding sense of fulfillment that you are making a change and that you're making a change that could actually affect the company positively, not after the fact and just trying to deal with the results. So it's really opened the door to really provide these kind of services.
So, what's my basset hound on the screen represent to you? Did you ever hear me say anything along these lines in training, Leslie?
Definitely. Definitely. I remember during taking the training, you would think that you need to have all the answers, and like you mentioned, Jeannie, you don't. You just need to help them facilitate and get them through this path of knowing what they want, what are their goals, their end in mind, and they definitely realize and appreciate that value.
So, what would be your biggest goal? What would you like to see happen as a result of this training that you have? How would you like it to show up in your life, in your work life? What would be a huge indicator that you've succeeded or that you've made an impact, Leslie, by taking these tools? And what would it look like?
It would look like more advisory clients, more clients that if we have more advisory, that means that these clients are now trusting us more to do this advisory work for them, to include us as part of their business decisions and the insights and everything that they have to do with their operations.
What's the best feeling that you get when you're working with the client?
I,
When's your aha moment?
So I'll share a quick story. There was a small client, just bookkeeping services. She needed a special scenario with a profit equation planner to purchase a home. I helped her with the budgeting, with the forecasting, setting the KPIs to track until we were able to finally track the loan. And sure enough, she was able to keep the keep her budget for her operating business and also come up with the cash flow she needed to purchase the new home. So
Wow,
that
that
was
is
an aha
amazing.
moment of like it matters. It really makes a difference, not just reaching your goals, but to help you reach these short-term goals of hey, I need a new employee. How is this going to affect my cash flow? Or hey, I want to buy a new home. Can I even do it? Do I have the budget? So it's very rewarding that they're trusting us to be a part of that and actually helping them do it.
Those are the best days when something
Yeah,
happens that you've been able to help somebody do, aren't they? It's
yeah.
also really fun when you can explain a technical concept and somebody goes, "Oh, I get it now." Like, here's what accrual means. It doesn't mean a cruel accountant. It's accrual accounting, a method that's different from cash basis.
That's great. I hadn't
So
heard
yeah,
that one.
those lights come on for clients. Isn't that just
Yeah,
an amazing thing?
yeah.
And I wish for you, Leslie, a lot more of that in your future. Hopefully, you'll have a lot of clients that will be able to work with you on this stuff and take advantage of the amazing insights that you've had. It's been such an honor to have you here. To work with you and the training was just a blast. A bunch of great folks in your company. Your company found out about the training, I believe. Hancock asked you, do you know the story how they got to level 5 training?
Not sure. I do think it was one individual that used to be with the firm that introduced us to the level five, which was just amazing. Yeah.
He read the book. Edie Osborne wrote a book called Firm Forward. It's a book that's a fable that she wrote about and basically drawn from accounting firms. and the story about how they were doing traditional service and that the members of the firm were getting dissatisfied. And so they found this level 5 sort of methodology. So there's a book that he read and brought it to the firm, and then they reached out to me, and then we got together and did this training. So however you find us, we want you to find us. I've been speaking about advisory for more than 20 years, but I just recently gained the rights to these tools that I learned back then. And you used to have to go to I believe it was an initial 3 days of live training, and then you had monthly, you had quarterly check-ins where we all met together as a group at different locations and shared our successes and our journeys and our struggles. So it was a deep commitment at that point, a far more expensive investment. And so by putting it online, we were able to bring the prices down and make it more available to hopefully a lot more accountants. So what you get in the training, what you get in the online training is more than 100 tools, including 14 hours of videos, a 12-month subscription to access that site, which is the only way you can get the videos. Those aren't downloadable, but all the tools, you can just go in there, pay your subscription, sign up for the program, and download everything and never watch a video or do anything else. And if you will use any one of those tools, you'll be able to recoup your full investment. And hopefully that's what you've seen already, Leslie. And so these are the program options. I created a do-it-yourself option where you just go sign up and get the training. I have the do-it-yourself plus, which includes the training tools, the subscription for 12 months, plus a monthly public webinar that I deliver on one tool. That's a session called Tool Time. And Leslie, that's available for graduates of the program as well. They can come on for an additional fee. And monthly, we go into a tool in depth. I talk about how to use it in marketing and selling to clients. That's called Tool Time. I keep messing up my headset here. And then the group cohort, which is what Leslie went through. And I have a short one, an abbreviated one focused on right now for bookkeepers. That is the online training, the 12 months, 6 months of live meetings with me every 2 weeks, and this training, and then marketing support for a $6,000 fee that you pay over 5 months. And that I have one in progress right now. The first class is actually happening next week on February 22nd. So if you want to get involved in a group cohort, and again, we meet together for 6 months every other week. And we set the date, and I go through the tools in a pretty good amount of depth. You still have access to the full training that you can do as well. We come in and I share updates and my insights. And then I have specialized firm training, which is what Leslie and Hancock Askew did. I've done it with multiple other firms as well. And I set that up for a special price. And we work out arrangements specific to your firm, and only your firm members are there, so we can talk about more intimate sort of things related to your group. I also offer individual coaching as well for people who are looking to, for a little bit more of an intimate coaching to learn about how to change some of the things they're thinking about. They also get licenses to the training, but I'm not going to be teaching those tools in those sessions. It's more about how do I behave, what do I want, how do I get there, and all of that. The training looks like this. It's laid out in modules. It goes from level 1 to level 5. With level 5 being continuous improvement. Leslie's seen this graph so many times, you probably can't stand to see it again. Level 1 is the basic core technical skills. And even at that level, there's more that we can do to add additional value and to ask different questions. Level 2 is an understanding of what we're saying and training our clients about that, and then showing numbers in a different way using a number of different what-if scenario models. Level 3, Leslie, what's level 3 about?
So the discovery section, where now level 1, the technical part is resolved, and now you can get together and plan on the goals, on the KPIs you want to establish.
So level 3 has my favoriteest of all documents, Leslie. Which one is my favorite tool? One you mentioned.
The profit equation?
That one I love. That's level 2.
The scope
That's
grid.
The spreadsheet where you do the thing. But the one that I make you talk about all the time.
The scope grid.
The scope grid, which is 5 areas of your business: what's working, which is a good thing to remember, what's broken, and what is your ideal outcome. And then the bottom right corner of that document is why is it you're doing whatever it is you're doing. And then we align everything we look at based on that overall overarching objective of the client. So that's a level 3 discovery tool. And then also in level 3, we have a bunch of different ways to do planning. In level 4, we really do the science of measurement. We go into how to move the needle forward on that company. We give you a bunch of different ways to get into the measures that you need to create. And then level 5 is all about applying some of the things from Kaizen, continuous improvement, again, engaging the frontline workers and seeing what needs to change and having those people create their own measures. That's how you move the needle in the right direction forward. That's how you move from quality information, which is important, to ownership and accountability and behavioral changes that drive results. With that, I'm going to thank you so much, Leslie, for joining us. What a great spokesperson. I need to put you on a billboard and let you talk instead of me. You can find me at impactfuladvisor.com or at Even a Nerd. It's Genie, Geni, at evenanerd.com. And you can find Leslie here at Hancock Askew. If you're one of her fortunate clients, celebrate. If you're looking for some new accounting help, Leslie's your gal. Look her up. And in Miami, how are things in Miami right now, Leslie? Is it warm?
Nice and warm. We just had a nice 2 days of a little chilly. I'm talking 60 degrees, and now we're back to 80s. Jeannie, and if I could add, so I know you have the do-it-yourself tools, but if I can share here, the group cohorts and you helping us go through those tools and really helping us understand it. I mean, it really brought the whole training toolkit together. So if I could encourage, if you're a growing firm and you have the right people, definitely the group cohort is just so valuable. So just wanted to share that.
Thank you so much, Leslie. Anything else you'd like to add?
That's about it. Definitely. And one more thing to all those accounting firms: stay in the game, adapt the advisory, know that this is where the future is headed, and make it happen.
You are fantastic. I know you're going to do great things. Again, your clients are so fortunate to have you and to have your firm on their case. And I wish you a great rest of the week. And I look forward to keeping in touch with you for a long time after this. Thank you so much again, Leslie. And thank you all for being here. And go forth and do great work.